The city hadn't even stirred yet, but Rachel Martin was already seated at her desk on the 42nd floor, lit only by the soft blue glow of her laptop and the faint blush of sunrise through glass walls. She was sharp, polished, and calm, at least on the outside. On the screen, a spreadsheet of quarterly projections demanded her attention. But her phone kept buzzing. 5 missed calls. All from the daycare. She stared at it, unmoving. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, typing half a sentence before stopping again. The 6th call came. She let it ring out, guilt bubbling beneath the surface. She knew what they wanted: someone had to come pick up Max. It had happened before, an unexpected closure, a fever, an early dismissal. But not today. Not when she was expected to present in front of the board in less than 2 hours. She clenched her jaw, her eyes burning from lack of sleep and unspoken conflict. Max had begged her that morning not to leave so early. He'd cried as she zipped up his little coat. She'd kissed his head and promised, "I'll make it up to you this weekend." She'd said it last weekend too. Rachel exhaled slowly and set the phone face down. "Focus," she whispered, convincing herself that everything could wait, except this meeting. Outside, the sun finally broke above the horizon, flooding the office with gold. Inside, Rachel couldn't see it. Not yet. The lobby was bustling, phones ringing and heels clicking across polished marble floors. Rachel stepped out of the elevator with her tablet in hand, mind still locked on her notes for the board presentation. She didn't notice at first, not until the receptionist gave her a hesitant look, then motioned toward the waiting area near the glass doors. Rachel turned, and froze. There, sitting quietly on the edge of a leather bench, was her son Max. His tiny feet dangled above the floor, Velcro shoes slightly crooked. He clutched his dinosaur backpack tightly, eyes wide but tired. A juice box sat unopened beside him. "Ms. Martin," the receptionist began softly, "the daycare called. They said they tried to reach you. Emergency closure. They had to drop him off here." Rachel blinked, words catching in her throat. She walked over slowly, the noise of the office blurring around her. Max looked up at her, confused, not upset, just waiting. Waiting longer than any toddler should have to. "Mama," he whispered, arms stretching up instinctively. Rachel knelt, pulling him close, her designer blazer creasing without a second thought. Her throat tightened as he buried his face in her shoulder. For the first time all morning, the spreadsheet didn't matter. The boardroom didn't matter. She looked around, suddenly hyper-aware of passing glances. The powerful CEO, undone by a 3-year-old in dinosaur socks. But she didn't care. Not in this moment. And then, behind her, a voice cleared his throat gently. Rachel turned slowly, still holding Max in her arms. Standing just a few feet away was Mr. Charles Jameson, founder of the company, billionaire investor, and legend in the business world. Towering, silver-haired, and rarely seen outside the 20th floor boardroom. He was dressed, as always, in a tailored navy suit, but his expression wasn't stern or surprised. It was soft. "I heard there was a visitor in the lobby," he said gently, eyes twinkling as he glanced at Max. "Is this your son?" Rachel's heart pounded. She adjusted Max on her hip and nodded, heat rising in her face. "Yes, sir. I didn't know the daycare would." Mr. Jameson raised a hand kindly, stopping her mid-sentence. Then, to her astonishment, he stepped closer and crouched down, bringing himself to Max's eye level. "Well, young man," he said with a warm smile, "your mommy is one of the smartest people in this whole building. But I bet you already knew that." Max blinked at him, unsure. "But I have a feeling," Jameson continued, lowering his voice like he was sharing a secret, "that the most important meeting she'll have today is with you." Rachel swallowed hard. The board presentation was minutes away. Her tablet buzzed in her bag. But none of that mattered now. Mr. Jameson stood, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Let me walk you somewhere quieter." There was no judgment in his eyes, only understanding. And something even rarer in a place like this, kindness. The rooftop garden was quiet, a hidden oasis atop the towering building. Few even knew it existed. Rachel had never been up there, despite working in the building for years. Now, she sat on a wooden bench beside Mr. Jameson, Max nestled in her lap, drowsy from the morning's confusion. A soft breeze rustled the ivy-covered trellises, and the city stretched far beyond the glass railing. For a moment, no one spoke. "I used to think this view meant I'd made it, Mr. Jameson finally said, gazing out at the skyline. "Success, power, recognition. But it took me years, decades, really, to realize how much I lost chasing it." Rachel glanced at him, unsure of what to say. She'd spent most of her career trying to prove herself, to men like him. "I missed birthdays. First steps. My daughter's piano recitals. All for meetings and numbers and titles that don't hug you back at the end of the day." He turned to her then, eyes kind but filled with something heavier, regret. "You're brilliant, Rachel. Everyone knows it. But brilliance doesn't have to come at the cost of what matters most." Rachel felt something tighten in her chest. She looked down at Max, now fully asleep in her arms, thumb near his mouth, breathing deep and even. She suddenly realized how rarely she just held him like this. Without multitasking. Without rushing. Mr. Jameson spoke once more, his voice barely above a whisper. "Don't let this place convince you you have to choose between being great and being there." Tears welled in her eyes. And this time, she didn't blink them away. The elevator doors slid shut with a soft chime, enclosing Rachel and Max in a quiet capsule of steel and golden morning light. Max was still asleep against her shoulder, his tiny hand curled around the edge of her blazer. Rachel stared at their reflection in the mirrored wall, her heels, her tailored suit, the smudges of tears still drying on her cheeks, and his little face, peaceful, unaware of the shift that had just taken place. She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and opened her email. Her thumb hovered over the screen for a second, heart still pounding, not from fear, but from clarity. Then, she typed. Subject, new schedule adjustment. "Hi all, I'll be taking a half-day today and starting a new personal tradition, Max Fridays. I'll be offline 1 day a week. My priorities are evolving, and I hope we all feel empowered to align our lives with what truly matters." She hit send. As the elevator descended, Rachel didn't feel like she was falling. She felt like she was returning, to something real, something whole. The weight on her shoulders hadn't disappeared, but it had shifted. She wasn't abandoning ambition, she was redefining it. The doors opened. She stepped into the lobby, not as a CEO battling to prove her worth, but as a mother choosing presence over perfection. And as she walked toward the exit with Max in her arms, a quiet truth settled in her heart. Success isn't measured in boardrooms. It's measured in moments.